Hey everyone, welcome back, and welcome to our very first requested review. This review was requested by Gabby. Thank you, Gabby. And yeah, I'm super excited to be doing it for you guys. And yeah, keep the requests coming because I love doing this for you guys. I love doing this for myself. And anyway, yeah, let's get started. Today we are going to be reviewing Inception, the 2010 Christopher Nolan film. This movie's been talked about to death. If you haven't seen it, you've surely heard about it. If you know anything at all about it, then you know about its premise and everything. And yeah, it's a creative movie. It's a well-made movie. And I enjoy it quite a bit. I think it's a pretty good movie. It recounts the story of these essentially robbers who steal information by going in through people's dreams, and then they have to do a thing called an inception where they plant an idea into someone's head by going to a dream within a dream within a dream. That's basically it, and it's a pretty advanced concept. It's a pretty complex story, and it works on quite a few different levels, and overall it's well made. It's pretty good. So, without any further ado, let's get right into it. The movie starts off right away with this really unique, really amazing premise. The premise of just going to dreams within dreams within dreams really is pretty unique. I mean, it's been done before in, the idea of going into dreams has been done before in, Altered States and Jacob's Ladder type movies, like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind did it. But it's still a unique concept to do it as an action movie. And I think that's what a lot of people forget about this movie, is that it is an action film. And action films aren't usually my cup of tea. But they work if the substance is there and if the action is well executed. So this film works very well as an action film, and the premise is well executed in the action aspects. But to me, anyway, it fails a lot as a drama. In many aspects, it fails as a drama. And I'll get into it more, but some of the dramatic elements, some of the romance elements don't really work for me, and I'll explain why later on. But just keep that in mind. Amazing premise for an action movie, but not as great a premise for a drama. It has a very strong opening, which leaves you confused, and intentionally so, and perplexed and wondering what's going to happen next, and it leaves you wanting to find out what's going to happen next, which is what's important in an opening, especially one that intentionally confuses and bewilders the audience like that. There's also, with this movie, there are certain elements of it that have already been talked to death, and one of those elements is Hans Zimmer's score, Wally Pfister's cinematography, Christopher Nolan's direction, the sets, the practical special effects, the digital special effects. But even then, it's worth mentioning, Hans Zimmer's score is beautiful. It's remarkable. It's well thought out. If you don't know this, there's a plot point in the film where there's a song that they play to wake you up. And in the dream, the song sounds slowed down. So Hans Zimmer thought up of a score that sounds like that song slowed down. It's a very dramatic score. It's a very elegant score. I enjoy a lot of Hans Zimmer's scores. I think his best score is The Lion King. But Interstellar also has a great score. I can't think of too many others right now, but all of his Christopher Nolan works have pretty good scores, and this is one of his best for sure. It's really well thought out. It's very well done, and it's very unique. It's very beautiful. It's very poignant. It elevates every scene that it's in. It's one of the better aspects of the film, for sure. The editing in this movie is also very, very well done. And I don't mean the special effects, although I'll get into that later. The actual editing is so precise and meticulous and direct, and it's forceful but not too pushy. You know what I mean? It's it's ecstatic and explosive, and it's as though the film were compressing you with its editing. And it's very well done, and I enjoyed it a lot. I think the editing is another one of the better aspects of the film. Fantastic production design, mediocre costumes, but fantastic production design. The sets are all very well done. The props are all very well designed. All aspects of the production design, except for me, the costumes and makeup, which are just average. But everything else is just blew me out of the water. The production design on this is fantastic. And the way the production design is incorporated into the special effects, like they have a set that they built that rotates around and like flips and shit like that. And that's just an aspect of the production design that's just so incredibly well done and so incredibly well thought out. It really is very remarkable to see. And there's also, like I mentioned, superb practical and digital effects. Christopher Nolan doesn't like to use digital effects as far as I know. I'm sure he's more of a fan of practical effects. But he's willing to do what he has to do to make a good movie, which is something I admire about him. Even though he's not one of my favorite directors, a lot of people like fucking jerking off to him. So, that if you're gonna fanboy over him, there's one thing you could fanboy over, is that he actually does what he needs to do regardless of what he prefers. He does what he needs to for the sake of the movie. And the practical stunts are great. There's a scene where a fucking train goes down a street, and it's so good. There's digital effects of like the city folding in on itself. Like, I'm sure Doctor Strange took some inspiration from it. I'm sure this movie took inspiration from like Paprika. I mean, it just looks like Paprika half the time, with all the fucking talk of dreams and with all the like melding and molding and flipping and melting of reality. But it's very well done. It's very well executed, and it's very impressive. Very, very impressive, these practical effects. It's not as clean of a concept as I would like it to be. Like, when you take like a movie about dreams, I'll use Paprika as an example. Paprika quickly establishes its rules and sticks to its rules. But Paprika is better than this movie in the sense that Paprika has a complex concept but simple rules. And it follows those rules to a T. This movie has rules, and it has complex rules with a complex plot, which is very hard to follow sometimes. And more than anything else, the problem with it is that it's hard to stick by those rules. Like, a sci-fi movie that has rules and follows them very well is a movie like Primer. That movie follows its rules to a T. And this movie doesn't. Like, for example, there's a part where I think the way that it's illustrated is that they're in a van and they're falling backwards. And they have to have this whole little adventure in the second dream before the van hits the water. And there's absolutely not enough time to do that. Like, YMS talked about this. There's just not enough time to do it. It's really distracting. It takes you out of the movie. I wouldn't mention it if it didn't take you out of the movie. But you sit there and you're wondering, like, how much time do they have again? Because they are taking quite a while to do what they need to do. And it's not very believable. And it's just not as clean a concept as I would like. I would prefer if it was just a little bit better executed. It's a great concept. It's a great premise. If it was just a little bit better executed, that would be wonderful, honestly. Now we get into the bad parts of this movie. And one of them is the dialogue. Christopher Nolan, God bless him, he knows how to direct a movie. He knows how to come up with a cool concept. I think Memento is a 10 out of 10. I love Memento. But, my God, as he's gotten older, his dialogue has gotten worse and worse and worse. His dialogue from this movie to Interstellar to Dunkirk to fucking Tenet, especially Tenet, and this movie also, because this movie has an equally complex concept like Tenet, it's just so expositive and so boring. there's nothing to the dialogue. Like, the dialogue is just, it doesn't even feel like characters talking to each other. It feels like characters reading off a list of things they need to say. It's just so terrible and so expositive and so just fluff. It's just fluff and filler. It doesn't feel like people communicating ideas. It's just like, we have to do this, and then we have to do this, and then we have to go here to do this thing. But why? Because we have to. It's like that. It's just... And especially in the dramatic scenes. Because Christopher Nolan, like I said, God bless him, he doesn't know how to write drama. He knows how to write action like a fucking master. But he does not know drama very well. Or at least it doesn't seem like he knows drama very well. Because his dramatic scenes just lack that punch that's needed in every scene. And instead it feels like an empty husk of what a dramatic scene could entail. And that's another thing. The emotional beats don't hit as hard as they should. Like, Leonardo DiCaprio's character Cobb has a wife named Maul, I believe. Also fucking weird names for no reason. But whatever. Maul kills herself because Cobb convinced her that she was living in a dream. And that emotional beat, when that is revealed, doesn't hit as hard because we don't know Maul and we don't really connect with her. Not just because she isn't in the movie that much, but because when she is in the movie, she's spouting off this terrible, overdramatic dialogue, and we don't connect with her on a human level. There's nothing about her to connect to. It's sad that she killed herself. Of course it is. But it's not devastating the way that it should be because we don't know Maul. And we don't really connect with her. Those emotional beats just don't hit as well as they should. And everything with Maul. When Maul appeared on screen, I was preemptively rolling my eyes. Because I knew that there were just going to be some bullshit of just overdramatic tension. And not effective tension. Ineffective tension. And just this, like, empty shell of what a dramatic scene could be. Like, I don't know. I was thinking about... While I was watching this movie, I don't know why, but I was thinking about the movie Funny Games. And Funny Games is really good. But I was just thinking about how much better that dialogue is and how we connect with these, like... The main characters of Funny Games are sociopaths. And I don't say that to be, like, funny, like, haha, they're crazy. No. They are sociopaths. And we even connect with them better because their dialogue is so well written. Dialogue is a tool. It's not... It can be a tool of destruction or a tool of building. And Nolan uses it as a tool of destruction because, for him, dialogue is how a character tells the rules of the world. And that's it. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character does nothing but tell the rules of the world. And Elliot Page's character does nothing but ask about the rules of the world, so that Joseph Gordon-Levitt can say the rules of the world. Just saying. You can fight me on this, but I'm going to come out the victor. Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Tom Hardy do really, really good in this film. They are the two best actors, they're the two most believable actors, and they sell the dialogue the best. Not even Leonardo DiCaprio sells the dialogue. And, I mean, Leo is a bit overdramatic. So is Elliot Page. They're both a bit overdramatic. So is Maul. So is, I forget the actress's name. But she is also very overdramatic. They're all overdramatic. They're all playing it up. Except for Tom Hardy and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who realize that they're not in a drama, they're in an action film, and they're playing appropriately. And speaking of action film, the action is super well executed. There's some amazing choreographed fights, there's some brilliant stunts, there's some great set pieces. It is very well done. It is remarkably... It feels like... It feels like Michael Mann action scenes. It feels real and gritty and raw and very, very well done action. And like I mentioned before, I'm not a huge fan of action movies. But at the same time, I can appreciate good action and I can appreciate good, well-choreographed set pieces and well-choreographed stunts, all of which this movie has. And it's very impressive, very good work, very well done. A+. Good job, stunt choreographers. The cinematography by Wally Pfister, I think, is overrated to hell and back, because most of it is not his cinematography. 90% of it is just is just the special effects team having fun. And the Wally Pfister shots are like 20% gorgeous, and I mean gorgeous, like really, really good shots, and 80% good. But it's only about 50% effective for the story. You know what I mean? Like, the 20% of gorgeous shots and the 80% of good shots, of them, maybe half, maybe a little less, are actually used as a storytelling device. Christopher Nolan doesn't know, or at least Wally Pfister was having trouble with, telling the story through visuals, and instead they opted to tell the story through dialogue. And maybe that's at the fault of it being so complex of a concept, but at the same time, it's not something that's, extraordinarily forgivable, because it's a movie. You're supposed to tell it through visuals. And when the visuals are not doing their job of telling the story, like, I believe in my heart and soul that maybe you could take a movie and watch it silently. Just drop the dialogue, watch it silently, and you could still follow about 80% of what's going on. In a good movie, you could do that. And I believe that there are parts of this movie where you can do that. The opening is one example of a part where you can do that, where they wake up from a dream, and then a dream, and then a dream, and then they're on a train. That part you can follow with no dialogue and know exactly what's going on. Someone's being intimidated, someone's being interrogated, and somebody else is waking up from a dream, and then they're waking up from another dream. You can follow all that without dialogue, and that's good visual storytelling. However, the rest of the movie is not like that, and you have to have the dialogue to follow what's going on. And, film is a visual medium, so is TV, to quote BoJack Horseman. And it should be able to be told in a visual manner. I'm not saying that you can't use dialogue or that dialogue is bad. Like I just said, dialogue is a tool. But being a visual medium, there's a reason we can follow silent films. You know what I mean? There's a reason we can follow Charlie Chaplin and Lloyd, I forgot his name, Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton as they bumble along in their city. There's a reason, because it's visual storytelling, and it's good visual storytelling. This movie lacks that. There are some comparisons to the film industry that are made in this movie, and they're actually pretty clever. They allude to production designers and directors and writers. They're for example, they say that you have to build the dream and design it, and that's her being the production designer, and then somebody else has to navigate through the dream, that's the writer, and then there's the person in charge, that's the director. There are some clever allusions to the film industry. It doesn't harm or benefit the movie, but they're worth mentioning because they're fun, and they give the movie another air of levity, and they give the movie an air of love for cinema, which is wonderful. Another thing that happens that doesn't really make sense, and this is referencing back to when I mentioned the YMS thing, where them falling out of the van doesn't take enough time. The way that they also get out of limbo is kind of stupid. They just kill themselves, which is nobody's tried that before. Nobody has gotten out of limbo by killing themselves, which is the way that you're supposed to get out of a dream anyway. That doesn't make any sense. That part doesn't make any sense, and it takes you out of the movie. So, docking points for that. It works, like I mentioned, it just works better as an action movie than as a drama. And this is because the concept is impressive, but the plotting itself is very, very basic and very rudimentary. And if you strip away the complicated concept, it's still just your average structured movie, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing for film students because they can study this movie, and they should study this movie. It's a well-made film. It's a good film. However, it's bad for us as the audience because we just get the same boring, predictable plot points over and over and over again. Not one of the characters are interesting. I'm serious. Not one of them. Cobb isn't interesting. Maul isn't interesting. Elliot Page's character, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, Tom Hardy's character, the Indian guy, the Chinese guy, none of them. Not a single one of them are interesting. Like, it is hard to watch the whole movie. The movie's like 2.5 hours long. Yeah, it's 2.5 hours long. And it's so hard for me to sit through these days because the only reason I would ever watch it is like the special effects, the music, the 20% cinematography that I mentioned. But it's like, what am I doing when I'm watching the story? What am I doing when I'm watching these characters? There are scenes where there's the characters in a room and they're talking about like their plan and everything, and I'm sitting there like, I don't care if you die, 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 because I don't, and the movie hasn't given me reason to care. The movie really doesn't care about the characters, like, at all. Not at all. The movie tries very hard to get us to care about the action and to care about the premise, but it completely distracts from the characters and their struggles and their internal struggles. I don't care about a single one of their internal struggles. Cobb has kids that he hasn't seen in years. I don't give a shit about that. I actually forgot until the end of the movie. Like, it's just bad characters, man. It's bad writing at a lot of these points. And it's like I mentioned, 90% of movies, this is what it's going to come down to. But it's just bad writing, honestly. Bad writing. Shame on you, Christopher Nolan. Shame on you. Along with bad characters and bad writing is also bad casting. I don't think Leonardo DiCaprio fits the role of Cobb very well, to be honest. And I don't think Elliot Page was a good choice either. Like I mentioned, the only two good actors in this movie were coincidentally also the only two good casting decisions, which were Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Tom Hardy. And even them, it's like, what are you offering to the film? None of the casting decisions are interesting or unique or clever. It's all just boring faces, boring people doing boring characters. I referenced Tampopo because Tampopo has great casting. Every single face is unique. Every single character is perfect for the role that they're playing. This movie is terrible casting. Terrible, terrible, terrible casting. I don't know who the casting director is. I'm not even going to look them up, just not to shame them or anything. But, yeah. Nolan is at his best when he works with complex ideas. He really is. Except for Tenet. Tenet sucks. But Memento, Prestige, and this, and Interstellar as well, it's all him working with really complicated, complex ideas. And playing with time, and playing with dreams, and playing with memory. That's when he's at his peak. And not to say that he didn't do that in the Dark Knight trilogy, because he did that a little, but it's what he's good at, and it's what he succeeds in. And I just thought it was important to mention that I'm not just hating on Christopher Nolan here. Like, the man is good. The man has a legion of fans that believe that. And I hate Nolan fans because they're the most pretentious, annoying people on the planet. But I like him as a director. I think he's okay. I just don't think he's that good of a writer. And he's good at writing complex ideas, just not dialogue and not characters. The ending gets a little up its own ass in terms of how complex and complicated it can get. Like, it feels like it gets intentionally weird for no real reason other than to be weird. Because Nolan knows his audience very well. And he knows that most people who watch Christopher Nolan movies and love Christopher Nolan movies probably aren't people that have seen that many, like, really weird movies. Like, you know, you're not going to find that many people who are like, my favorite movies are Inception and Daisies. So you can sort of bet that the ending would get a little up its own ass to give these people like a weird experience, which I commend him for. I commend him for that. But it does get a little goofy and a little like roll your eyes, not very tongue in cheek. It doesn't feel clever anymore. It just feels a little stupid. And that's when the movie is at its worst, right up until the last like 5-10 minutes of the ending. And like I mentioned, how they get out of limbo is stupid. The flashbacks remind me of the movie Her, which is a movie that I thoroughly admire, thoroughly respect, absolutely adore. And the movie has these like 2-second long flashbacks where you just see the couple interacting, and then it cuts back to the main character Theodore Twombly being all alone. But this movie has that, but it's so stretched and it's so long. And that's another thing about this movie. It's so long, and it's so unnecessarily long. Like, the movie feels incredibly stretched. And part of the stretching comes from the flashbacks, which are too long. They don't add anything, and they're just unnecessary filler. Just like the rest of the movies. And the romance scenes, they are flat and they are dry. They have nothing. They are just... They're barely gasping for breath. They do not stand on their own two feet. They are unfortunately bland and boring. Unfortunately. And I don't like using that word, but they are dull. They are very, very dull. And they add little of substance to the movie. They add very, very little substance. But to end on a strong note, the movie ends on a strong note. It ends on a very, very good cliffhanger. It ends on a very, very good little twist. And actually the twist itself about him implanting the idea of what if everything is a dream into Maul's head is pretty lame. But the actual little twist of like the spinning the top, and then it's like, is it going to fall? Is it not going to fall? I wouldn't call it a twist, but like that question at the end, that actually works to its favor. And I enjoyed that piece. It was a nice little piece of business. I enjoyed him seeing his kids. It was sweet and everything. But like I said, I didn't really care about his struggle. But overall, yeah, Inception. Fine film. Fantastic technically, if not for a few blunders. A disaster in the writing room. No characters, no dialogue, nothing redeeming there. But an overall very strong film. Could have been cut down another 20, maybe 30 minutes, and I wouldn't have missed anything. If the movie had a little bit more time on the characters and the dialogue, and instead of just another 30 minutes of exposition, I would have loved that. But besides that, yeah, those are all my thoughts. I'm going to give Inception a 75%, and I'm not going to put this on my list of all the movies that I've rated so far, because those, I'm separating it out like this. So I have my reviews, which I do every Friday, which I review like a movie that I want to review, or the movie that I found on Criterion or on YouTube or on Amazon or whatever. Usually not going to review new movies there. I'm going to, like, the latest I'll go is, like, a movie from this year, but not a movie that's, like, brand new. Like, I'm not going to review Dune and put it on my regular Friday reviews. I have those reviews. I have short reviews, which I either have already uploaded or will upload very soon. I have a bunch of those ready. And I have request reviews. I also have non-narrative reviews where I review things like comedy shows. But yeah. So this is going to go into the section called request reviews. So, yeah, 75%, good score, good movie, and that's going to be it for me for this week, guys. I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.